All right, afternoon, gang. I'm just multitasking here, so bear with me just one moment. There's another button I need to press here just to make sure that I'm covering Instagram as well. All right, okay. So there, we're going to be awaiting news fairly shortly about the Bank of England base rate. I was supposed to be out right now, but I was going to do this anyway, so I thought I'd jump on just to kind of cover the news and see what the vote comes out at. Whether this will be unanimous or whether there'll still be people who are kind of pushing for the bank rate to go down. It's I know it's a little confusing to know what's going to happen for sure today. Most of the consensus, and I want to cover some of that with you, is that the Bank of England will just remain the same at 5.25%. But we will see as we go along this with this broadcast. So we should be hearing probably in about 8 minutes time or so. Before then, I am streaming to Instagram as well. If you're following on Instagram, thank you so much for joining. If you do have comments, I can see your comments right here. So feel free to comment and I will, you know, interact with you. If you have any questions, I'll also answer any questions that you have as well. Same thing if you're on YouTube, put your comments in the chat and we can have a little bit of a conversation around what we think is going to happen. Let's have a look at 1 second, guys. I've got a call coming through, so bear with me just one moment. One moment. Apologies. What I was going to be doing this afternoon is now back on. So let's do this really, really briefly. I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to have to cut this short. But let's have a look at some of the headlines that are out there right now in terms of what some of the tabloids are saying. So let's jump over here. This is looking at the BBC website, by the way. They're talking a little bit about what interest rates are. Will they may go up again. That's a different topic. I've been seeing a few reports today saying that interest rates may go up again because there are some concerns around the causing factors around inflation. We'll cover that a little bit later on. But looking at this, this is probably one of the bigger things that people are kind of more concerned about. If the Bank of England base rate is kept at 5.25 today, then for home buyers, for people who have mortgages, that's the biggest concern. And I kind of alluded to that in the live yesterday evening. The fact that the Bank of England is being accused of holding mortgage holders ransom. Because if you really think about it, we've gone from the environment where we've had really, really low interest rates, sub 1%. I think the interest rate at the lowest point was 0.1 to 5.25%. And that happened relatively quickly over the space of a 24-month period, right? So the knock-on effect to that is that mortgages go up. So if you have a mortgage, you own your property, your payments go up. And even if you're a renter, that has a knock-on effect to you as well, because the landlord who owns your property that you pay rent to would have seen their mortgage price go up and they therefore want to pass it on to you. So there's been big conversations around the fact that if we don't see interest rates start to fall soon, that you're effectively holding home buyers, mortgage holders, and even renters to more to ransom for some reason. But there is concern now. We looked at the core inflation numbers and service level inflation numbers yesterday. Service level inflation numbers were 5.25, and I think core inflation was at 3.7. And everyone has their own inflation rate, right? So my inflation rate, personalized inflation rate, will be very, very different to you if you're watching this right now. It depends on the things that you're buying and the services that you're using on a monthly, weekly basis. So everyone has their own inflationary level. But the concern is that if core inflation cannot come down, where it's really, really sticky, and that will take into effect energy prices, food prices, right? Then there is a concern that is it the right time to push interest rates down? So a lot of the consensus coming out this morning is saying that actually we may not even start to see interest rates start to drop in August. It might even be September before we start to see interest rates drop this year, which isn't ideal. But it's a waiting game for home buyers. They're saying UK interest rates haven't budged since the Bank of England raised them to 5.25 since August last year. So we're 10 months in to having this base rate of 5.25%, despite the fact that we have made a lot of inflationary progress from the the numerical number that um, they judge inflation by, and that's headline inflation. That's a encapsulation of everything at a stiff look. But here's what they're saying: interest rates might not begin until autumn. The medicine appears to be working, even if it may be bitter. It may have a bit of an aftertaste. Yesterday's figures revealed inflation had fallen to the Bank of England's 2% target for the first time in almost 3 years, as higher borrowing costs reduce spending power, curbing the extent to which businesses can raise prices. That doesn't mean the Bank of England is likely to cut rates yet. For its job is not just to return inflation to target, but to keep it there. And that's going to be the main concern. If core inflation is pretty sticky, is that going to have a knock-on effect to the headline inflation number that you're basically seeing? So when are they likely to go down? I think in some of the articles that they're talking about here, I've seen August, September start to be muted as the potential time in which we're going to start seeing interest rates come down. There's a lot of uncertainty at this point in time. But in about 2 minutes, we should know what's going to happen with the Bank of England base rate. Let's just go all the way back up here and just see. Yeah, we're a few minutes away. And I've also got the Bank of England website up here as well, because on the minutes that they publish, you should get an idea of what the voting record is for the 9 members of the Monetary Policy Committee who will be in a room right now deliberating just this topic. What do we actually do? Do we keep it? Do we reduce it? Like I said yesterday, my consensus is that they're going to hold it at 5.25%. Purely because I think they just want to stay out of the election cycle and potentially being seen to influence one party's political chances. And I'm referring to the Tories there. It's been so fascinating seeing Rishi sit there yesterday. I saw it on TikTok where he was using cans of Coke to demonstrate or to at least give a visual representation to what inflation was. And he talks about the fact that, when he took office and it was 11.1%, which is true. And now today they've managed to get it down to 2%. That was yesterday. And, how he's done a good job on that. And I felt sorry for him, but it almost feels a little disingenuous as well. And there was another clip that I saw on the news. Kay Burley, is it Kay Burley or Kay Burt? She's brilliant, really pressing a Tory MP around. So you say that inflation has nothing to do with you as a government, but then when it comes down, it does have something to do with you. And if you think about inflation, or at least the inflation that we've seen, has been due to external factors. So the politicians are very, very quick to distance themselves when, it's a war in Ukraine, or, this has happened that is outside of our realm of control. It's not necessarily an internal policy that has driven that, right? Very, very quick to distance themselves in those circumstances. But when inflation does come down, despite the fact that it is the Bank of England's job, and the Bank of England is separate to government, it's supposed to be separate to government, they are very, very quick to take responsibility for the fact that we managed to get inflation down to 2%. And whilst they do have to work hand in hand with the Bank of England, because you don't want to do anything from a policy point of view that could impact the monetary policy that the Bank of England are taking, there's still this onus of, I did this, this is our good job. And it's just so, it's really interesting to see and to watch when you really get down to it. It's very, very interesting indeed. So who knows? Anyway, we should have the news out right now. I'm just going to see if I can find a live feed for this news. Normally we do get a live feed. Actually, there is a live feed right here. What are they saying? Let's see if I can actually share this one with you guys. Bear me 1 second. Also need to make sure that these audio is coming to me in the right position as well. Yeah, so as expected, they are holding the Bank of England base rate at 5.25%. Let me just see if I can get this feed in to give some kind of external view on this as well. Bear me 1 second. I didn't want to use my big headphones, but I might have to for this if these don't work. So I don't want to compromise the audio halfway through this stream either. So bear me 1 second while I just check a few things. Um, okay, that's slightly annoying. All right, you might get a secondary kind of feed from this, but let's just see if I can get this to work. Let me know if you can hear this in the comments as well. I'm just going
the
to
data
share this to
as it arrives in the next few months. So that's the decision as it stands. I'm afraid not much to report, but that's kind of what people expected, really.
Yeah, we did expect a hold. So Ed, thanks very much for taking us through that. Well, one of the reasons for that hold, obviously, we are in an election campaign, and Sir Keir Starmer says a Conservative election candidate should be suspended while they're investigated over claims that they placed a bet on when the election would be held.
There you go. I think that's pretty short and sweet. The reason why they have not done anything with the Bank of England base rate today is to kind of just be neutral because we're in the election cycle. Let me just share this one right here and just see what the BBC article is saying. Interest rates remain at the highest level for years. A 16-year high, by the way, 16-year high. Remains at 5.25 for the highest level for 16 years. The Bank of England have been widely expected to keep rates unchanged despite further slowdown in inflation. It's the seventh time in a row that interest rates have been left unchanged. On Wednesday, the data showed that overall inflation in May eased to 2%, which is the Bank of England's target. So no real true other insights to this news. So look, we're going to have to wait. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wait until the next meeting. Perhaps in August, we might see a rate drop. It might be in September. I don't know at this point. It's going to be very, very interesting. I would love to kind of like stick around a little bit. Let me just have a look and see what's going on in the comment section very quickly, and see if there's anything that's worthwhile talking about. I actually have to head to London because I've got to do Channel 5 news. That is what the call was about this evening. So let's have a look. I'm just going to scroll on Instagram as well, see if there's any comments, any questions that have come in on that side. I don't think there are at this point. All right. Perfect. Appreciate you for this comment, mate. Thank you very much. I know that I've not done that many lives this year. I've just been really, really busy, and yeah, I'm still in the place trying to figure all this out and trying to kind of get some balance with my workload and projects and things that I have to do from a business point of view. So I appreciate these types of comments because yeah, sometimes it is a little bit hard just looking at the YouTube metrics and analytics. Sometimes it can be very, very depressing if you're just focusing on view count, which is hard to do sometimes because that's what literally YouTube feeds you. But I hope you found this useful. What do you need to do? Look, really, it's the same thing. If you're a saver, this is good. Interest rates will remain the same for savings accounts. There will be no changes there. In terms of mortgages, I don't think this will rock the mortgage market really that much. We're in an election cycle. This has been broadly signposted for the past 4 or 5 days that this is likely what was going to happen. So I don't think there are any surprises there necessarily. Do nothing. But I do think pay attention to finances from a general point of view. Personally, make sure you're doing the right things from your own personal financial point of view. And look, we've got to be patient. We've got bigger fish to fry around the election in the next few weeks. So I just want to encourage you. It doesn't matter how you vote, as long as you vote and you pay attention to what's in the manifestos and you participate, because that's pretty much the only power that we do have. So please go and vote, whoever it is you're going to vote for. Timothy's just asking here, What does this mean for people who have invested in gold, silver? What do you think will happen? Nothing's going to happen, mate. If anything at all, gold and silver business are normally safe commodities almost. So I think from a commodity point of view, you might see gold go up a little bit because it will be seen as better value potentially, but it's not going to mean anything necessarily. I don't think you'll see a negative impact on gold in any way, shape, or form. All right, let me just have a look here. Someone's just saying on Instagram, can you pick me up on your way to London? I'm literally, if I don't, I'm gonna have to leave in like 10 minutes, and hopefully traffic is kind to me because I need to be in the studio at 4:30. It takes me about 3 hours 45 roughly for where I am, so I've got a little bit of leeway, but not too much to do Channel 5 news this evening. Anyway, thank you so much. I will catch you a little bit later on. Enjoy the rest of your afternoons. And if you did find this useful, please make sure that you smash the like button on YouTube because that does help with the algorithm. And on Instagram, if you have any questions, then feel free to message me, DM me, or whatever. All right. Cheers, guys. Thank you.